Okay, so today's agenda is as follows. And actually, at the table, and when you picked up today a handbook from the Board of County Commissioners, Rules and Procedures, as part of that also you see an agenda there that's attached. And so we've done the overview. We're going to talk a little bit more about the roles, the chair, ethics, the resource manual, planning, and we'll do some closing comments at the end. So that's today's agenda. The last thing I want to bring up too is housekeeping. Restrooms are when you first came in, not when you first came in, but when you turned down the hallway to come down to this door here, they were to your left, now to your right on the way out. There is a table with food, breakfast food at least, in the back behind us here in the small hallway. And then at your table, you will see a basket of snacks. So we brought those in for you to eat and take, not necessarily leave here, so please do that throughout the day or throughout this morning. The last thing, and I did this last year, or 2 years ago, I guess already, just a little quote, not just a little quote, I guess, but a quote about kind of the role that you've taken in and what you're doing and why. And basically, from Margaret Mead, that states, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And that's what you're a part of here. So I appreciate and thank you for taking that step and being part of that process for our community. Okay? So with that said, I'm going to hand this over to Megan Holzer, who will now go into the next item. You need a separate. Let me go back. Okay, oops. I can't see.
I know, that screen's weird.
Yeah, because it's kind of hard to see. I don't know where you are.
I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, good morning. Like Alex said, my name is Megan Holzer. I am Rural Towns Liaison for Commissioners Brown and Jones. Can you not hear me? Okay. Okay. I usually am loud enough, so I don't need a microphone. But I cover 6 of the TABs and CACs in Clark County. There's 19 total, so I have almost a third of Clark County. I cover the whole west side of Clark County, from Prim up to Indian Springs. So I get to see a little bit of everything, which is fantastic. So I see a lot of faces that I recognize. Welcome. It's awesome to have you back. And I see a lot of new faces, which is really exciting. I am a planning nerd. My degree's in planning. I love planning. I love the process, the government process. And I love that you're here taking part of it. This shows that our process works. You guys are here participating, and this is how it's supposed to work. So I'm going to talk about the roles of the different people who participate in our town boards, because it's not just members. There's a lot more that goes on. I did the same presentation 2 years ago. You're going to hear some repeats, but there are a few new things. And for our new members, probably a lot of it is new for you. So we're going to cover a lot of information today. You don't feel like you have to write notes or anything unless you're a note taker like I am, but we're going to send you all this information. There's going to be links, and if you have questions later on about anything that was talked about, please ask your liaison, or while I'm talking, just raise your hand. This is pretty informal, so if you have questions, please ask. So my idea is, who does what? Who does what at these meetings? So all members, and you are all members, whether you're the chair or the vice chair or just a member, you're all members. So all members, you read the agenda. You get that agenda in the mail, by email. Read it over. Look at what's coming up for you. Sometimes things do come up as a surprise, and you may think, oh, I know what's coming. I know what's going to be on the next agenda. Sometimes things surprise us, and you want to be ready when it comes. Review the backup material provided. You all get some information, and there's sources to find other information, which I'm going to show you in just a minute. But that backup information is going to give you a lot of insight. When I work with applicants that come in for planning items, they say they don't understand what a justification letter is or a site plan, and I always tell them, your packet of information has to speak for you. It has to tell the people that are going to look at your application what it is. It has to tell your story. So hopefully your story, you guys get their story. That's what those plans are supposed to show you, is the story of what their application is. You can visit the sites or locations of applications, and I would encourage that. We have learned that definitely, you can look on Google Maps, you can see the aerial, but actually going and seeing where something goes is a whole different story. You're not going to see speed bumps on an aerial photo. You're not going to see trees necessarily hanging over. So, so definitely you can drive by, check out the sites where things are going to be. You can research additional information. If you have questions or are particularly interested in a certain thing, you can look up the codes, find out what the code is. You can get input from other county departments like Public Works. You could also talk to neighbors or other agencies. Sometimes the health district has very important input on an application, and you can reach out to them if that's something you choose to do. It's all about how much information you want to have before your meeting. And then, of course, attend the meeting. That's important. We need you to come to the meeting. And we know there's a lot of them, but every single meeting is important, and every single person that attends that meeting is important too. So we want them all to be heard by as many of the board members as possible. You ask questions. I know some of you may be a little nervous if you're new. Sometimes it's hard to speak up. I get it. But if you have a question, ask it. You're never going to get that opportunity again. And a lot of times, I'm usually the person that asks the question. Other people will be like, oh, I'm so glad you asked because I wanted to know that too. So if you have a question, ask it. And don't just think they're going to tell you, because applicants that come don't know sometimes what to say. So they may not tell you that thing you're waiting to hear. So please ask questions and make motions. Everyone can make a motion. It doesn't just have to be the chair or vice chair. Everyone can make a motion, and it's good for you to make motions. If you ever watch the Board of County Commissioners meeting, the different commissioners make different motions on things, and that's good. It shows they're engaged. It shows they're paying attention. It shows, and that'll be the same for you. It shows that you care, you're paying attention, you're engaged, you're listening to what they're saying. So please make motions, and it's not a requirement, but think about it. So one source of information, I'm going to jump out of my presentation here because this came up at the last minute, but I want to share it with all of you. Oh, there's a mouse. I'm just going to jump out here real quick and show you another resource that you may want to look at before a meeting. And this is on our county website. And again, we'll send links to all this information, and we're going to add this link to the town board resource page. So don't think you have to remember every step, because we'll provide it for you. But if you go to our county website and go to departments, we want to go to the building department. And I got new glasses, so I'm getting old. I had to get progressive, so if you see me moving my head, I'm trying to find the sweet spot so I can see what's going on. So on the left side, search our records. Some of you already know this, but this is a powerful tool if you want to look at more information. So you go to Document Image Search. This is going to give you a way to look at all the documents that have been submitted that are available for you to look at about any application. So you always want to choose pre-meeting, because they have not technically been to a meeting yet, so they're considered pre-meeting. And then down here, you put in the application number. No letters, just the number. So this, I'm going to put in one that's coming to our Mountain Springs Town Board next week, just for an example. Oh, did not do it. Sorry. Darn numlock. It's going to give you a list of all the documents that are available, and it'll tell you either file folder or plan. And file folder is everything except the plans. It would be justification letters, engineering reports, anything that has been submitted. Sometimes it's photos. Sometimes it's just background information, business plan information. Whatever they have submitted is in file folder. In this case, I'm going to show you the plan. So I just click View, and it's going to pop up all the plans that were submitted for this particular project. So I'm a very visual person, so I love this tool because I can read a whole thing, but I want to see what it looks like. So this is your opportunity to take a look at the plans. So again, we'll put this link on the website because I'm sure you won't remember all the steps, but it's a great tool to use before your meeting. Yes. Yes. Uh-huh.
Are those different iterations, or do they all contain something different?
Barbara wanted to know what the different file folders are. Plans, you would think when you come in and you submit your package and you walk away. Well, sometimes they need to revise a justification letter. So that would get another folder because it doesn't get scanned that first time. So the different file folders are going to have different information in them. And sometimes they're just extraneous things that are required. So yes, you should look at all of them. If you're really wanting to be thorough, you look at all of them for all the information. And sometimes you'll just, if it's real clean, you might just have one file folder and one plan, and then it makes it easy. So, all right, so we'll get back into the presentation. Yes?
I'm wondering why the commission adopted an exception to Robert's Rules of Orders to allow what I call unitary motions.
Uh-huh.
A motion is actually on before the board without a second.
Without a second, right. And we deal with that in all the meetings. Everybody likes to make a second because we've done that. I cannot answer that question for you, but Steve Swikert will be here later. He's one of the district attorneys. That would be a great question for him. Any other questions before I move on? Okay, yeah, so write that down. Don't forget, ask Steve about that. So there are two people that do have different duties on the town board. This is going to be covered in depth in the next presentation, but basically the chair runs the meeting and the vice chair runs it if the chair's not there. So we'll get into that more later. I don't want to duplicate information for you. So the secretary's got a big job. She has to follow laws. She has to wrangle all you guys. So she is supervised by the liaison. They work for us, and we work very closely together. She's an independent contractor for the county, and I'm saying she because right now we don't have any male secretaries. She's an independent contractor, so she's not a county employee, but works for the county as a contractor. She prepares the agenda. She works with the liaison with different departments, especially comprehensive planning to get information, sometimes business license. There's all different things that come into her. And she gets input from the chair as well as to what's going to be on the agenda, what order they're going to go in, and just putting that whole agenda together. And she also includes things that were held over from previous meetings or somebody brought up during public comment, which happens quite a bit. Please put this on next month's agenda. So they need to follow up and keep track of that so that it gets onto the next agenda. And that's a very important point, is that during public comment, we know that's not something that can be discussed, but it's very important to let the audience know, thank you for bringing that up, we can put it on the next agenda. So that's a very important tool we have, and the secretary helps us with that. And she prepares, posts, and distributes the minutes. Now, the liaison, it's really hard to put into words what we do. People ask me what my job is, and I say, well, it's a lot of things. My view of what my job is I'm the eyes and ears for the commissioner in the community. I am keeping an eye on what's going on. What are the trends? Are there new speed bumps coming up or potholes? Or what's going on? What's the community thinking about things? Is there a trend in people moving in or moving out, things like that. But we're also the resource for the community for all things county. So questions about anything that goes on in the county, we're that person for you. Of course, there's a lot more to it, but that's kind of how it boils down in my mind. We coordinate preparation of the agenda and the minutes with the secretary. So those state laws that you're all held to, so are we. We have to be up on those state laws, get things posted in the right time, and help the secretary to do that. We let the secretary know about items that are supposed to be on the agenda, just like coming up, you guys all have to decide on your calendar for the rest of the year, what dates you're going to meet. Some of them it's more complicated because you have meetings that fall on holidays, so we have to prompt the secretary, we need to put that on there, we need to look at bylaws, there's all sorts of things, like housekeeping type things that we need to make sure get on the agenda. We may have guests or presentations, so all those things we work with the secretary. We go over the agenda, so the secretary sends it to us so that we can look it over to make sure it's worded right. We have to word our items very specifically to provide as much information as possible, so we need to make sure things are worded properly. And we keep the secretary informed of changes. And luckily, in the past 2 years, we haven't had a whole lot of changes to our agenda. Some of you have been here for a while, know we went through some big changes a couple years ago. Right now, we're pretty stable. Things are pretty much the same. But if things do come up, or state law changes, sometimes it's because of state law. We make sure that the secretary knows that and prepares the agenda accordingly. And we interact with all 38 county departments, which is quite an undertaking. And we have to know about things that I still can't. My husband said to me the other day, "You know a lot of stuff," and I thought, you know what? I do. We have to know so much about, at least a little bit about 38 different departments. So we interact with all of them. And so that's how, if you have a question about the comptroller, we can find out something about the comptroller. We deal with constituent concerns, dealing with all those departments, and dealing with everything you deal with in your life that has to do with the county. We deal with all those issues. We deal with town board and CAC issues. We work with outside agencies. All of us work with Metro very closely, fire department, health district. There's so many agencies that all work together to make things happen, and we keep very close relationships with them. And we also work with the developers, the people that are coming in to want to do stuff, the applicants on different applications. We juggle all those things together. We go to neighborhood meetings, and that's another important tool that we have to find out what's going on in the community and what we can take back to the commissioner. When we go to those neighborhood meetings, there's great conversation and flow of ideas, and we're able to go back and tell the commissioner, hey, I was there, and here's what the neighbors really think. This is what's really going on. So those neighborhood meetings are very important. We keep up to date on changes with the code, and like I said, we haven't had too many lately, but sometimes there are big changes. We just had marijuana come along in the past few years, and we had to keep up to date on the changes with that. So, and there's other things, policy changes, personnel changes. That is one thing we've had a lot of the past couple years in admin services. So we have to make sure that the secretaries, and you guys know if you have a question about the agenda, about a paycheck, things like that, who to talk to. All right. So the things that aren't listed on our job title are, and things that we do, are detective, translator, party planner, magician, oh my gosh, I just lost it. Hostage negotiator, sorry. It's Saturday. Air traffic controller, Jack or Jill of all trades, and peacemaker. So now we get to the part of who makes the meeting really, why are we there? Of course, we're there to learn about new things, but we're there for the public. There are public meetings, there are public hearings, and the public doesn't get to come be trained here. The public may never have been to a meeting before. They may have been to lots of meetings. They may be nice. They may be really grouchy and mean, but they're all the public and they're all valuable. So for those of you that are new, hopefully you won't deal with any people like this, but here's a quick little video from Parks and Rec, if anybody's seen it, which is, if you haven't, take a look. You're going to appreciate it. So here's just a quick little video to get started for our constituents and our audience.
What I hear when I'm being yelled at is people caring loudly at me.
Now, I have a few things I want to say about Laura Linney. There is a disturbing lack of benches in Ramsey Park. I want to sit more.
I found a sandwich in one of your parks, and I want to know why it didn't have mayonnaise. What's so funny?
Oh. What are you, some kind of moron? Why don't you have hand dryers in the park bathrooms? They're so much more sanitary than paper towels. Anyone knows that.
Ham and mayonnaise.
No.
Ham and mayonnaise.
No.
Ham and mayonnaise. Except for turnip. Except for turnip.
My daughter's 5.
Well, your daughter is an idiot. Her daughter is an idiot. Her daughter is an idiot.
Oh.
Her daughter is an idiot.
No, she's not.
Government shut down. Who's going to stop Al-Qaeda?
But isn't all food bad for you? I've been eating lasagna and muffins every day of my life for 40 years, and I feel terrible.
How do you like it? Huh?
No.
How do you like that? Now imagine you're holding coffee.
It says do not drink the sprinkler water, so I made some tea with it, and now I have an infection. Sir? Sir, are you listening to me, sir? Sir, I'm talking to you. Sir, are you aware that there is waste in your water supply?
Oh, you promised!
You promised? That's not fair.
Oh, it's not a question of fairness. It's
I'll
separation.
go back to Russia, Tommy.
Hey, you go back to Russia! And you go back to wherever you came from!
What's next? Income?
Sir, you don't pay your income tax?
Whether or not I pay income tax is none of the government's business.
No. Well, no, actually it is.
Well, you don't know my name or what I look like, so good luck finding me.
How do we know you're really a nurse?
Why don't we just set fire to the fence, set it ablaze?
That's arson.
Well, let's leave that up to the lawyers. The point is, it would work.
This that's happening here is not allowed.
Okay, so as crazy as that may seem, especially to people who don't deal with the public, I think we've all seen some of those. There's one comment in there that I literally did have at a town board meeting, and I will not name any names. But the public, oops, sorry. The public is fun. The public is frustrating. And I think part of what we're all tasked with doing is helping them to understand what we're doing, why we're there, and to get their voices heard. So your presenters and applicants that come in, they may be paid professionals. We've all seen the attorneys there, and they're very smooth. They do great. They have beautiful plans, and they know how to answer the questions. They probably will answer your questions before you even think of them, and that's what they're paid for. That's what they do every day. And they could be architects, they could be engineers, but they may be a property owner that has never been there before. It's very scary. Public speaking is one of the scariest things. On every list of scary things, public speaking is on there. And they could be confused. They may not understand the process. Our planners do a great job of explaining it, but it's a lot of information to take in. So they may be confused or frustrated or scared. And they may need help from you. They may not know what to say. We've had several of those lately at the meetings I go to where they get up there and say, I'm here, And so you may have to say, tell us a little bit about your project. What are you asking for? Where is your project located? Those little prompting things can really help. Because for an attorney or an engineer, they're representing someone else's project. They're representing something for a client. The property owner that is there asking for something for their own property, it's personal. It could be, we had one when I was a planner years ago, and the family all had horses, and if they didn't get a use permit, one of the children's horses had to leave. That's losing a family member. So the consequences can be huge for them, and that's a scary thing. It's very scary. So cut them a little slack. I know some can be very frustrating. We had one recently, a couple young guys, my Sandy Valley people remember this, a couple young guys that came, they had met with the commissioner, they had talked to me, they had met with code enforcement, they had met with a couple other agencies, and he got up and said, well, I don't know why I'm here. So they can be frustrating. They can be very frustrating, but let's help them out a little bit, and I think it'll pay dividends for how you are perceived as well by helping the people out. And it could be neither. It could be not a professional. It could be not a property owner. It could be someone that's leasing a space, someone that wants to start a business that needs a use permit. So they are just asking for the space they're going to occupy, something specific for that. So there's all different iterations of people that are going to come to your meeting. I'm going to back up. Sorry. I can't see it very good. So, also, this came up at our last training, and I'll address it now again. Plans. There's always questions about, are they told to bring plans? They are absolutely told to bring plans. But again, if it's a mom and pop I've worked with plans and reading maps and stuff my whole life, but other people don't think that way. So they may not realize that site plan is important to have with them, or they just may have forgotten. And yes, they are supposed to have plans. And it is up to you. If they can capture their application for you and explain it, and they don't have a plan, it's up to you whether you want to move forward with it or not. If somebody's wanting to open, say, a hair salon, maybe you don't need a plan of what a hair salon looks like. It may be more about their business and how they're going to operate and how much parking there is. Those are different things. So yes, I know the planners tell everyone to bring plans to the meeting. People forget. So it's up to you. If it's a major development and they don't show up with plans, I think that'd be hard to review if you can't see anything that's going on. Or if they're wanting to change the facade of a building and they didn't bring you a picture of what that building's going to look like, that's a hard one. That is one of the decisions you have to make, and a lot of times they get held for that, and that's fine, and they'll learn. Those people will learn. So your audience and your constituents, the people that aren't there presenting, they aren't on the board, they are there because they're concerned about something that's happening maybe next to them down the street, or they are just interested to be there, and that's great. We need to encourage those people that participate and come out and are there. So they may be extremely knowledgeable. They may know the code, they may know everything that's happening with that application, but there's other people, it's gonna be their first meeting, and they may not know to speak at the right time. They may get up at the wrong time, so just help them out, help them understand, nope, you can speak on public comment, because that's not what we're talking about today. Or, you know what, after they present, you're allowed to ask questions or speak at that time. So give them a little help again, and some of them aren't gonna be nice. They aren't, but their input is just as valuable and important as anybody else's. And like I said, maybe their first time at a public meeting, and we all know this. A lot of us know it like the back of our hands. I mean, most of you know how it all works and how the agenda works, but a lot of people, it is just foreign to them. It's just, you know, like finance. I'm not a finance person. When I look at financial charts, it makes no sense to me. But I can look at public meeting notice and know what's going on. So keep it in mind. There's things that you know better than others, so keep that in mind with them. And we're all just human beings trying to make stuff go along. So are there any questions? I have one more video, but are there any questions before we move on? You guys are so easy. Okay, so the one thing that I would really encourage us all is to find the joy in what we do. And sometimes it's dry, sometimes it's frustrating, and I've been known to shed a tear before. So it can be so frustrating, but if you can find the humor in it, it's really gonna help. So these next guys, this video that I'm gonna play for you now, they probably would drive you crazy if they showed up to your meeting every week or every 2 weeks. But from sitting here, let's just enjoy the joy of these guys that are speaking on public comment. Come on.
Identify yourself.
What up, council? My name is Chad Kroger. I'm an activist and house party enthusiast. Over the past week, I've been in a state of deep despair upon hearing the news that LA is trying to outlaw house parties in the Hollywood Hills. I am here determined to stop this future atrocity. House parties were the bedrock of my development as a young man in San Clemente. My first introduction to manhood came when the captain of my water polo team, Boomer Kingsley, asked me to shotgun a tall can of Bud Light in front of the whole squad at his end of the season bash. His parents were in Tahoe at the time, so we tore that weekend up. It was epic, and I was super stoked. My newfound confidence gave me the courage to ask out the most popular girl in school, Lauren Stockholder, to prom that year. She rejected me, and I had to go with Stacy McMillan, but I didn't care because I was so amped on chugging with my boys. That's what house parties do. Raging at house parties is the truest way to party.
Next speaker, please come and identify yourself.
What up, council? My name is JT Parr. I am also here to defend parties in the Hollywood Hills. I grew up like most kids, worried I couldn't bench 2 plates, that I wouldn't fit in, that I wouldn't find love. Then I discovered partying, and suddenly all those worries went to the wayside. I didn't need love. I had keg stands. I discovered I was great at raging, and it revealed wonderful things about myself. I could relate to bros regardless of what kind of bro they were. I could be at a party and moon people and everyone would laugh, you know, be witty. Or I could play beer pong and compete with real integrity. In short, I fulfilled my potential. If you outlaw house parties, you may keep the volume down, but an externality is that you may keep people from bonding. America needs bonding. People need to put aside their differences and find common joy. There's no more effective environment for that than a frickin' rager. This is best exemplified in me and Chad's relationship. We were star-crossed. He a surfer, me a bodyboarder.
Thank you. And I want to welcome you to LA Council's Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
So we may not get any as interesting or exciting as that, but everybody gets their 3 minutes, and they have their opportunity to be heard. So next, any questions now? Yes.
Is the council thinking about getting house parties here?
We're always working on that. That's that's a tough one. So next up is Sue Baker. And she's going to talk about a little more in depth about the roles of the chair and vice chair.